Hey there everyone, my name is Spencer Gilmore and I am the creator and founder of Hair Rescue. I have sold over 4,000 bottles of this product, selling to 4,000 plus customers, getting hundreds of 5-star reviews across the country and across the world recently. And that's one reason why you should listen to me. And what you're going to get from the end of this is we're going to talk about the in-depth products that are currently on the market, what products could be right for you, where you're at with your hair loss journey, and side effects, everything that you want to know about the products on the market, the good, the bad, the ugly, and where you should start. First things first is you need to set your expectations properly and look at where you are at personally. Every hair loss treatment is going to respond differently to every single person based off of their own dietary requirements, how far along their journey they are, how old they are, how much hair they have left, what type of hair they have left, their genetics. It is a toss-up at best. Now, there are good literature to say that some products work better than others and some products that have far less side effects than others, but you never really know what you're going to get. And it's unfortunate because it is just, I cannot imagine a more profitable treatment for men and women out there if you could find a treatment that doesn't have side effects and does what it's supposed to do. So that being said, let's dive into it. The first product in the market, and really the biggest product in the market right now, is going to be finasteride, aka Propecia. And this is going to target aggressive androgenic alopecia or male pattern baldness. The reason it does this is because it attacks DHT. Dihydrotestosterone is the main culprit for hair loss today. If we put aside mineral deficiencies, your dietary issues, your lack of sunlight, all those things, your genetics, DHT is the main culprit for hair loss because it attaches itself to the androgen receptors in your hair follicles, shortening the life cycle of them, and eventually they fall out prematurely. Now, where androgenic alopecia affects most men the most is going to be at your vertex of your scalp and going to be up here at the hairline. That is where you're going to start losing and see shedding the quickest. It can be a receding hairline. It can be thinning throughout the scalp. It doesn't have to be just at the hairline. You could have diffuse thinning, which is definitely something that I suffered from. It wasn't always at the hairline, but I suffered from thinning just all over. And I guess the first thing you need to look at is if this is going to be something that's right for you. Because unfortunately, even though it is the biggest and most prescribed treatment on the market, it does come with some nasty side effects for some, but not an insignificant amount of people. They say it ranges anywhere from 2 to 8%. I don't know if that's, reported off of people who actually suffer from severe side effects or if that's just people who notice it enough to where they want to stop the treatment. It's unfortunate that is, I guess, how many people say that they have side effects, because I really think it's more because most people don't know what optimal feels like. And there's even something that's so prevalent in men today. It is called post-finasteride syndrome, where you come off of this drug and then you get things such as low libido, you're lethargic, you have muscle loss, you have brain fog, all things that come from having lower DHT levels in the body. DHT is an essential hormone for men. Things like you have a delicate balance of testosterone, DHT, and estrogen. And when one of them gets too high or too low, that's when you start feeling those effects, specifically in men. Another way to describe finasteride, it is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. So what it's going to do internally in your body is when your testosterone converts into dihydrotestosterone, it is going to block this enzyme from allowing your body to convert the testosterone into DHT. Finasteride has been shown to lower this by about 70% in men, and there's an even stronger, yet non-FDA approved version called dutasteride, which has been shown to block up to 90 to 99% of DHT converting. So that's a really aggressive number, which I can't imagine if you're not someone who's on outside hormones, that reducing your DHT in your body by 99% can be healthy and you're going to be side effect free. Just like any other drug in the market, there are people who are going to be suffering from side effects from these things. So those are things you need to take into account whether or not you want to look into it. But once again, it is primarily a mostly safe treatment to look into. It's not something that is going to just be riddled with side effects and they're going to prescribe it, because it is finasteride, an FDA-approved treatment. And for the most part, it is safe. But for a small but not insignificant amount of men today, they're going to notice side effects. And for those men, they're going to be looking at alternatives on the market, or they're just going to commit to a hat for the rest of their life and just deal with balding. Because unfortunately, it is your genetics. Some men never going to lose hair. Some men going to lose all of it. So I guess another way to describe this too, and if you're looking into it, would be to look at what type of hair loss do you have and what scale you're at, because this is where you're going to figure out whether you're going to respond the best to treatments. So if you look at the scale, which is called the Norwood scale, you have scale 1, or you have a Norwood 1 to a Norwood 6 being the most severe. Norwood 1 to 3 is going to be your moderate hair loss, which is going to be the most likely to respond well to treatment and not need a hair transplant, where you can keep most of the hair you have, and if you're a hyper responder, is what people like to call, they respond best to these treatments, which is usually the top 15% of people, they're going to see the best results and the fruits of their effort in if they're a Norwood 1 to 3. If you are a Norwood 4 to 6 with hair loss treatments, this is where you're going to probably need a hair transplant, or it's going to be a very aggressive journey of regrowing and battling hair loss. The life of Zeph is a great example. This guy probably had a Norwood 4, Norwood 5, a very aggressive hair loss on the top of his scalp, and he went through a 2-year journey of using every product on the market and maybe brought it back to a Norwood 3. He just got a hair transplant, which I think is going to do really well for him because it looks like he got a fantastic hair transplant done. But this is just a great example of someone who documented his whole journey going from a Norwood 5 to a Norwood 3 maybe. He just had very aggressive hair loss, and that's unfortunate for a lot of people. So this is where you're going to respond the best to treatments. If you look at the other products on the market and battling DHT, you can find things like minoxidil, ketoconazole, or you can find things like rosemary oil, saw pimento, things that are basically anti-androgens or have anti-androgen effects in the body. Or you could look at things like RU5-8841, which is a topical anti-androgen, which is going to block DHT at the scalp level. RU5-8841, the topical anti-androgens, are going to attach itself there where the DHT does not attach itself to these hair follicles. Like finasteride, unfortunately, this is not a 100% foolproof treatment, as it is not officially an FDA-approved treatment. However, it has been around for quite some time, and it has been used by millions of Americans today. If you go through the Reddit forums and you look through anecdotal experiences for people, the loudest ones who experience side effects, or the ones who experience side effects, are always the loudest. It's really unfortunate because I myself, with Hair Rescue, we do sell RU5-8841 because finasteride, which I have tried many times, I've tried the oral pill, I've tried the topical versions, I always suffered from the side effects of that DHT lowering in my body. So it just isn't really a drug for me, and I really wish it was, but it isn't. So I had to go down a different route. I found RU5-8841, and it was a little scary at first because when I saw it, I wasn't sure if I was going to be one of the individuals that was suffering from these crazy side effects that they were talking about on Reddit. But I dabbled into it, did research, found a good site that it seemed like they were selling legit stuff, and it was miraculous for me. And I can say, with the 4,000 plus customers that Hair Rescue has had, even though we only have 100 reviews out of 4,000, which isn't a great rate, we're trying to get that up. I have hundreds of people who have been using it for years, saying that it works great, no issues, and they don't leave a review yet. I've been trying to get people to leave reviews, but people don't always leave reviews. It's always the ones who suffer from the side effects that are going to yell the loudest, and that is why everyone is scared. And unfortunately, every drug on the market, even the FDA-approved ones, have side effects. And it's the reality that we live in the world today. Even things like minoxidil, FDA-approved, horrible side effects for some people. But if you look at 100 people who use this drug, 90, 95, no issues, benefits. 9, 8, 4 out of those 10% suffer from mild side effects, stop using it. 2, 3, 1 people have horrible side effects, and so they stop, and then they yell about it and try to get people not to use it, which it's unfortunate that those people suffered from those side effects of any drugs, whether it's finasteride, minoxidil, ketoconazole, RU5-8841. It's unfortunate, but for the majority of people, all of these drugs are relatively safe. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, but they're relatively safe. You just have to end up making decisions on your own and what you're willing to do. Derek from More Plates, More Dates was a huge inspiration for me into doing more research into these subjects because when he was suffering from his hair loss due to anabolics, he dabbled in finasteride, dutasteride, minoxidil, microneedling. He used topical anti-androgens like RU5-8841, and he was able to completely stop his hair loss, regrow a significant portion of it, and he has never been the biggest advocate anymore because he does sell other supplements like minoxidil and his intelligent ketoconazole-based shampoos, which I might add, ketoconazole, one of the side effects of it, even though it is a topical anti-androgen, they even write it on the bottle saying a side effect is hair loss. It's a little ridiculous because I think every product on the market that addresses this hair loss issue has similar side effects or the same side effects, and you're just like, where can I go? What should I use? Is a hair transplant the only option? And then you have to look and say, no, hair transplants are not the only option, because I can dive down this rabbit hole, and we will dive down it. If you get a hair transplant, you're going to have to use finasteride and minoxidil and other treatments because you want to give the hairs the best chance they have to take to the scalp where they were planted, to where you don't have to go and get a second or third treatment because you didn't respond that well to the initial insertion of the follicles. So people may either start on finasteride before, or they start taking it afterwards, they get the treatment, and then you still have to take all these treatments. And if you look at the big names out there, Keeps, Hims, Rogaine, Happy Head, Lock Lab, all of them are selling the finasteride and minoxidil based combos, or one or the other, dutasteride. It's just there's gotta be an alternative out there to those treatments as well. So for the people who are getting those hair transplants, they're gonna have to take them, so you might as well try something before, see what kind of results you can get from the treatments. And then if a hair loss treatment like a hair transplant is right for you, if you are one of those people who are at a Norwood 4, 5, 6, then you can go get that, and you'll probably have to take the treatments and then run the risk of possibly getting those side effects from those issues again. It's just it's a really long rabbit hole. But I don't want to scare people off. This isn't meant to be a scare video and just say you're screwed. There are definitely ways to do it. You can go down the natural route. Brian Johnson, I've actually done a lot of reading into his hair loss regimen right now and his routine, because his hair transformation has been fantastic. He has done a great job using things like a dermastamp, using things like a microneedling devices, getting his blood work done, looking for nutrient deficiencies, getting optimal vitamin intake. Water, it's a great one. Reducing your chemical exposure like chlorine with a shower filter, using a low-level laser therapy cap, which I would say has been probably shown to be the most effective with little to no downsides. The only issue is it is a more expensive option because those caps are not cheap. I did have one a long time ago. My parents purchased one. I used it for a little while. I would say I definitely noticed a little bit of a benefit from it. However, it's a $1,000 plus item, and if it's the only option you're going to buy, I don't think it's going to get you the results you want. I think it's just an added layer on top of your proper nutrient or proper diet and exercise. You have to look at your blood work and get your mineral deficiencies, make sure those are all right for proper optimal hair growth. Get a shower filter to reduce your chlorine exposure. Stop drinking tap water to reduce your chlorine, your fluoride, your arsenic exposure. All these things that will lead to proper hair growth and proper health. Because unfortunately, all of these issues stem from internally in your body. And a lot of drugs in the market are just masking the symptoms. Essentially, you're like taking the light bulb off your check engine light, where the engine's still broken, or you have an issue with the engine, but you can't see the symptom anymore because you took the light bulb out of the light indicator and the warning light. So you want to make sure that your diet, your exercise, and nutrition, everything is as good as it can possibly be, and that's going to give your hair, skin, and nails the best chance to look the best they can. However, people who still have really androgen receptive or androgen sensitive hair follicles from their genetics, from their parents, they're still going to probably suffer from hair loss. And that's really one of the tricky things with getting healthy and hair loss, is because even if you get really healthy, you can still lose your hair, which is really unfortunate because it's like it goes against everything that we know. Get as healthy as possible, reduce your chemicals, and you think that bam, you'd be good. But unfortunately with hair loss, it is a little different and it's tricky. So you got to look at all the possible alternatives that are out there and look at what's right for you, see the best bang for your buck. You want to also make sure that every product you're implementing into your routine, you're giving it ample amount of time to work. 3 months, I'd say, is a minimum amount of time frame of diligent use to really say, this is working for me, I'm not suffering from side effects, I think I can add in something else because this is working, or I need to replace it with another treatment that's out there. So if you're someone who can't be that patient, this is going to be a really difficult and tricky time for you because you just want the quick fix, just like diet and exercise, which I actually use this analogy a lot and say that most products on the market for most people will actually give you some benefit. The minoxidil, the finasteride, the topical anti-androgen like RU5-8841, the vitamins, the dermastamp, the low-level laser therapy scalp, the ketoconazole-based shampoos, the rosemary oil, the caffeine, zinc, saw pimento, pumpkin seed oil, castor oil, all of these things. There's so many out there on the market. You don't know what you could do. I think they'll all add a small layer of benefit, but it's just, what are you going to use? What routine are you going to stick to? And are you going to use it diligently in a routine? Just like diet and exercise, Pilates works, running works, CrossFit works. It's just, can you do it? It's not a caffeine pill where you take it 15 minutes later, you know that it's working. You have to stay diligent with the process and the routine, and it's something that is really difficult for people, because even just taking care of yourself like you would take care of a loved one is really difficult. It's actually one of the first rules in Jordan's 12 rules for life. Take care of yourself like you were taking care of someone else, because when you're taking care of someone else, you're almost always going to make sure that they stick to their routine. But when it comes to you, you slack off, you don't do the work because you're tired, you don't feel like it, it's not convenient right now. And that's when you start losing progress. It's okay if you miss a day here and there. 80-20 is good, 90-10 is better. But you really want to make sure that you find what works for you, give it proper amount of time, and see what's giving you benefits and what's not. This is a long YouTube video. It's probably going to be like a 20-minute vlog of me just ranting on. I didn't script too much out here. I've just been meaning to get this on camera, and I'm probably going to snip it and add it to some clips here for my TikTok and my Instagram. But this is just me monologuing about what's on the market, what works, what doesn't work, how you should be using each product, why you should even listen to me, because I have tried every drug in the market. I started suffering from hair loss when I was 20 years old. I'm now 27. I have used almost every drug in the market. I have a hair care company called Hair Rescue that has helped thousands of men across the world stop their hair loss, especially stop aggressive shedding, and using one product once at a time. I go in depth on all the products on the market on my TikTok and Instagram page, and look at some of the research and dig into it so that you don't have to, because when people say do your own research, you watch people who have done the research, and it's always tough. That being said, I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to medical school. This is all from my own experience and reading and watching other people talk about these issues, and I really just want to give you the most amount of benefits that you can make the best decisions for yourself. Is everyone going to agree with this message? No, they're going to say do this, do that, you're cooked, just get a hair transplant, just wear a cap, go bald. But for a lot of people, their hair is their confidence. And when you're lacking confidence, it really affects all the other aspects of your life. And I know it affected me, because when I started losing my hair, it was something that I immediately thought about all the time, and you couldn't tell me anything else. I was like, God, are people looking at my hair? My hair is constantly falling out. I'm shedding like a dog. What am I supposed to do? And once you finally come to peace with it, or you find something that starts working for you, it's just a breath of fresh air, not having to worry about that specific thing in your life, because there are so many things in this world that we need to worry about. With that being said, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I will try to get into more in-depth answers on all of these things and try to keep providing more information. And thank you guys for watching.